children got less sick. Most of the children's hospitals and children's department were empty because children didn't go to school. They stayed at home, ate mama's food, and they didn't get sick. They enjoyed their family life to a great extent. Children learned about their families, culture to a certain extent. Children learned about climate change than ever before. And children learned about importance of family. They learned about the importance of the school because they missed so much. And children learned about the importance of friends and peers and teachers. So these are all the good things that has been learned by the kids. So it's not all doom and gloom.
COVID-19 and its impact has been in existence for more than 18 months in our lives. It has not just impacted the economy, regular life, but also has created a different kind of impact in the lives of children. With COVID-19, the world of children has changed quite a lot. So that's why we came to this very interesting podcast. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Fake Folks. I'm Harsh Pate. For this particular session, we have this very interesting, very dynamic, and very special personality, none other than Dr. R. Kishore Kumar sir. Dr. Kishore Kumar is a world-renowned neonatologist who has worked across North America, the UK, Asia, and Australia. Having completed the medical training in India, a specialized training in the UK, also completed a fellowship in neonatal ICU with an FRACP from Melbourne, Australia. Clinching the certification as one of the youngest and highest qualified neonatologists in the world, he recently completed his executive MBA in the healthcare delivery at the Harvard Business School, Boston, USA. He has always been a leader in his life. After spending nearly 18 years overseas, Dr. Kishore established the Cloud9 group of hospitals in the year 2006. The genesis of the hospital was rooted in his belief that pregnancy is wellness, not an illness. Through Cloud9, he was determined to raise quality and service standard in maternal and neonatal care in India, a vision he has successfully achieved over the past decades. As the founding chairman and the senior neonatologist at Cloud9, Dr. Kishore has been instrumental in propelling Cloud9 group of hospitals to the pinnacle of maternity and neonatal landscapes today. He has received an array of honors for his achievements in neonatology, the most noted being facilitation for his contribution to the field of neonatology by the former US President Bill Clinton and the Leader of Tomorrow by the Health Minister, India and Pride of Karnataka award along with the Australian Excellence Award. He has been actively in training next generation leader in various sectors of healthcare industry. His experience at the Torontoville G campus few years ago and now at HBS has even propelled his desire to do more for the India. So first of all, sir, I welcome you in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Harsh. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, this is our pleasure too. So moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is how COVID-19 is changing the world's children actually. From their academic success to their social skills and mental health, the pandemic is a crisis for today's children, and the fallout may follow them for the rest of their life. Sir, I want to know, I want you to know what are your views on this. When today's children and adolescents grow up, will they see themselves as a lost generation whose life will forever fall in the shadow of a global pandemic?
Yeah. Harsh, that's a very, very good question. And how COVID-19 is changing the world's children is a topic of major importance for everybody, including WHO, UNICEF, and most parents in the world. Now, we all know that COVID has affected in a big way. Now, we always think of starting with the good things first. Let us look at what are all the good things that COVID-19 has brought in children. And then we'll talk about the bad things. Then we'll talk about probably the ugly, the last one. The good things that COVID has brought in children is children have become aware of COVID-19 and being a viral illness. They appreciate the viral infections and protection required. Masking, social distancing, hand sanitization have been learned by most kids, and they realize that that prevents them getting infected. And this preventive measure of avoiding the infection in children is a very important lesson which has been learned by many kids, both actively and passively. And they understand that health is very, very important. They understand healthy eating is important because every parent now is hunting for immune boosters, immunity boosters, what food to eat and good things, and they're teaching their kids to eat healthy. Most kids ate less junk food during this pandemic than ever before in their life. Children got less sick. Most of the children's hospitals and children's department were empty because children didn't go to school. They stayed at home, ate mama's food, and they didn't get sick. They enjoyed their family life to a great extent. Children learned about their families, culture to a certain extent. Children learned about climate change than ever before. And children learned about the importance of family. They learned about the importance of the school because they missed so much. And children learned about the importance of friends and peers and teachers. So these are all the good things that has been learned by the kids. So it's not all doom and gloom. Now, what are the bad things that happened because of COVID-19? Most children hated the isolation. They missed their friends. Children suffered isolation and mental health issues. They felt gloomy and started fearing losing the near and dear ones. Most children really started fearing that they're going to lose their parents. Some children, unfortunately, developed what we call as a multi-system inflammatory disorder, which led to children suffering some disorders. So these are all some of the bad things that happened with the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, last but not the least, as I mentioned, ugly things because of COVID-19. What are all the ugly things that happened? Some children died of COVID. Some children orphaned because of COVID-19, because they lost their parents, sometimes the carers which they were being cared for. Some children missed routine vaccination and suffered vaccine preventable diseases. Some children have become victims of mental health. So there have been bad things happened, but there are lots of good things that happened like anything else. And I think, pandemic is not something you have a choice to choose. It comes when it comes. I mean, the last pandemic was in 1918, which is 103 years ago. And that pandemic lasted for 2 years. From the experience of previous pandemics, it looks like we are going to be having this pandemic for at least 2 years, which means that we'll be stuck in this pandemic at least till February 2022. But it also depends on how we all respond. Nobody is safe until everybody is safe. That's a famous slogan which has come from WHO. So unless everybody is vaccinated or unless everybody is infected, the virus has a chance to mutate and spread and cause the disease. That's why it's our duty to protect everybody in the world, not just in the rich countries.
Indeed, sir. Actually, yes. I think you have very beautifully described what are the positive outcomes. Obviously, there are positive outcomes, and we can't deny this fact. And also, there's a negative outcomes of this. And you have actually made a very great point that because of this COVID-19, students or children learn the importance of this COVID-appropriate behavior, and which is very much needed in this fast-paced changing world. And sir, I think you have discussed also about the social interaction. So I just want to ask with you, social interaction is a key factor in the development of the child. It's informal but an important process through which our children learn and observe about a different kind of behavior, develop an understanding of self, learn to identify various reactions of others, learn to identify the difference between familiar and unfamiliar, learn to communicate in the different social settings. COVID-19 has reduced the social interaction drastically, as you have mentioned, and it will surely have some impacts on the behavior and skills that children acquire through social interactions. So, sir, how do you see this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure,
I
sir.
was listening to your points. But what was the question there?
Sir, my question to you is, how do you, what do you think, how the social interaction, because which all reduced in this COVID means during this whole time frame, so how it is going to affect their children's life means?
Yeah. See, a children's mind is quite plastic. In other words, their adaptability is quite quick, and most human beings, especially children, tend to forget their bad experience over a period of time. And definitely, it is not something which is pleasurable. In the short term, it will affect. But like anything else, there's always a proportion of children who can be badly affected, as I mentioned earlier, the ugly part of it. If they've lost their parents or their carers or they've become orphaned, then it's going to take quite some time for them to get back to the normality of the world, or if at all they get back to normality without help. So there are lots of things which we need to consider. But as a general rule of thumb, most children will have recovered few months into the back to the normalcy once they start the school. That's why there is a huge amount of pressure around the world by WHO, UNICEF, and all the organizations talking about sending children back to school with a lot of safety measures, precautions, vaccinations of all the adults. COVID is a funny infection. It predominantly affects adults, less commonly children. Children don't get infected unless adults get infected and they transfer the infection to children. That's why in the schools, if everybody adults is vaccinated, then it is safer to send children. And obviously, they need to be monitored for symptoms of upper respiratory tract infections or COVID, and isolated if quickly, and segregated. So all these measures, if you take, then children will return to normal. A portion of children will suffer mental consequences, probably for the rest of their life, and especially that category which I classified as ugly, because some of the children have been orphaned. So once they have lost the parents, depending on the age of the child, some children may never forget that experience. But if the children are less than 3 years, they may not remember their parents over a period of time, and they get adjusted to adopted parents. So it depends on what is the age of the child, how torturous effect they've had in the child, and what their experience has been. But there is no doubt, majority of the children, as I said, we need to talk about the positive things. Majority of the children will recover. Minority of the children will suffer. And we need to do everything as a community to do whatever is best is required to help these children to become normality and assimilate into the society. I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, actually you have done. And I think you have explained as actually this is a very positive change that majority of the children will recover. Absolutely, there are some things has happened which will never people are going to forget. Those who have lost their parents. This is actually a very sad thing. So my next question to you is, as you have mentioned in your first answer, that nobody is safe until everyone is safe. So my question to you is, getting the COVID-19 vaccine can protect the child and others, reducing the chance that they transmit the virus to others, including family members and friends who may be more susceptible to severe consequences of this infection. So have your child vaccinated for COVID can help restore a more normal life.
Yeah, I mean, the children need to be vaccinated, but they are not the priority. The priority is the sick and elderly and with the comorbid conditions. That's why the vaccination in India started with the right way. First, the health workers got vaccinated. Next, the senior citizens got vaccinated. Then people with comorbid condition. Then the younger adults. So India has followed a very, very, very scientific and a good approach, and children come in the last. But now the question is whether the children need vaccination. The answer is we do need to vaccinate them, but we need to make sure it's safe for them to be vaccinated. And that's why the trials are going on. And once the trials are back and it is approved, then it is going to be given to children too. and but we still have at least 60% of the world's population who have not been vaccinated. So that's why the WHO has started the program called COVAXIN, which is a COVAX program, where the rich countries are supposed to donate the vaccine to the poorer countries to be vaccinating them, so that all of us are protected. So the priority is to vaccinate all the healthcare workers around the world, all the senior citizens around the world, all the people with the comorbid condition around the world before we think of our children. And definitely that is the most important priority. And I think that's why the WHO is pushing hard to do that. And some of the countries through this pandemic, we have realized are selfish, and they have looked after only their interests, not anybody else's interests. Unlike India, India has given vaccines to 19 countries, so we had so much issues. So it is like any family. The world is like a family. You know, you see some are selfish members of the family, some are helpful members of the family. So world is like a family. We realized through this pandemic that some countries can be as selfish as they have been. So I think it's very important that we protect the world elderly and healthcare workers first before we think of booster doses and other things for the protecting the people.
Actually, I think the kind of leadership India has shown is actually appreciated by the whole world. So my next question to you is actually, this is not very much related to the topic, but I just wanted to ask, what are your views? Because we have seen the technological revolution has already accelerated to another level. Technologies like robotics, AI, machine learning, Internet of Things, blockchain, drones, and augmented reality are being harnessed to create a safer, efficient, and more productive environment. So my question to you is, in your views, how technology was helpful in this COVID time, and how do you see how technology is going to change the healthcare industry?
That's a very important and a very good question, Harsh, because see, India is a huge country, and we have almost 27 states, and southern India is well served with healthcare workers, with a significant amount of healthcare workers being everywhere. But we have so many parts of India where healthcare needs are not met with the right amount of healthcare workers. And many areas don't have a specialist or a super specialist, as we call. And this is where the pandemic has helped in a big way, because teleconsultation and video consultations and teleprescription, telepharmacy, all these things have taken off in a big way, which would have happened sooner or later, but it took off in a big way. And it has helped in so many ways. See, when the pandemic hit, because of whatever reason, people were either quarantined or people were isolated because there was a fear of infection from one person to the other person. So the technology was started being used in form of teleconsultation and video consultation, which has percolated to a lot of rural areas where there is hardly any access to healthcare workers, which is a big boon, because what has happened now is anybody, anywhere, all that they need is either a computer or a small mobile phone, and they can consult any doctor anywhere in the country, which is a remarkable thing, because a lot of inaccessible areas now are being delivered the vaccines by drones, and advice has been given by video consultations. Otherwise, there was a physical need for healthcare workers to go to that area in the past, which is quite an arduous job, especially when we have disproportionate distribution of healthcare workers throughout the country, with some areas who are inaccessible by many means. So I think it has done a humongous job, and I think this is really one of the great achievements of the pandemic.
Indeed, sir. Actually, this means digital thing has helped during this COVID thing. So my next question to you is, it's a kind, actually, we have moved into this 21st year of this 21st century and passing through this very unprecedented times. almost everything has changed, and digitization is the need of the hour, as you have mentioned. We now operate in an environment that can be very deeply described as volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The pace of change is fast and getting faster. Organizations are flatter, customer demands are ever increasing, competition is global, and continuous disruptions are now considered as new normal. So, what do you think? What is needed to survive and thrive in such a VUCA world? What kind of leadership is needed in this world?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, but it's a very broad question, and this is a topic which we can probably talk for a whole day. I'm not sure how much time you have, but so we need the good leaders, not the nationalists or leaders. Unfortunately, currently, countries like China and Russia have got too much of nationalist leaders, and they're not thinking the global platform. And though we have a good leader in India thinking on the international platform and various things, these nationalist leaders in the past have shown that they can be disasters to the world. Notably, the Hitler in Germany was responsible for the World War II. The way things are going, the nationalist leaders with the agenda of occupying different countries can be calling for trouble in the near or far future. Whether it is China trying to occupy Taiwan or Russia trying to occupy Ukraine, these are all small countries being trying to be engulfed by the bigger countries, and that sort of a attitude is not going to serve anyone any good, because it is going to tilt the balance of rest of the world who want to be democratic and head this way. Already the world is in a turmoil with the Middle East countries, so many of them quarreling with each other. And Lebanon, which was one of the prosperous countries in the past, seems to have gone into chaos. Not sure whom to blame or where to what to happen. Their currency has dropped by 90%, devalued. So it is not a right time for any fluidity in the leadership. So we really need a strong global leadership, and we really need a strong global leadership in the right path. And hopefully we will be there. And unless there is a right leader who is strong enough and leads us to the right path, then we are looking at disasters approaching the world soon, with a lot of countries having the nuclear bombs and various things. It's not a nice time to be thinking about all this, but hopefully common sense prevails, and we all work towards the global peace, and we retain the peace what we have achieved with the hard, great fight in the past. And I think we need to respect each other and respect mutual boundaries and move on, so that we all live harmoniously.
Indeed, sir. I think you have actually covered this topic. Maybe this was actually a very broad topic, but you have summed up most of the things, I must say. Sir, I can say there's a lot more to learn from you, but today I don't want to take too much of your time. So moving to my last question of this session, or rather it's a kind of a request to you, is at last, what are some advices would you like to give to people watching this session?
It depends on what advice, but one thing is for sure, anybody can achieve anything they want, provided they put their heart and mind into it and work towards it. And India is a country with a young population, and 30 to 40% of our population are under 30 years of age. So we have a huge potential, provided the elders direct them to the right path. And I think we have shown that we can do it if we put our mind and soul into it. And the best example is, when the pandemic first wave struck, countries like, Europe and Italy, UK, Spain suffered from shortages of masks and PPEs and face shields. And that's why we saw a lot of WhatsApp videos of how to make a face shield from plastic, to make masks from common cloth and do this. If you look at this, March 11th was the pandemic declared. On March 20th, our Prime Minister declared lockdown, which surprised the whole world. Within 9 days, we declared 10 weeks of lockdown. And majority people don't realize, we, though being a country of 1.3 billion population, we never suffered any shortage of masks or face shield, or doesn't matter what it is, because most industries converted whatever industries they had to produce masks and face shields and PPEs in a big way. And imagine 1.3 billion population not suffering any shortages compared to Spain and Italy, small countries suffering the shortages. So clearly the country has shown that we can come together and we can work together and make it a huge success. And this attitude has to continue, and we can achieve whatever we want to. It is time that India becomes a global power. With the unity and the hard work, we can achieve that. But whether we have the resolve to do that is another matter. So hopefully we all should work, and young people like you definitely should take leadership. And I urge a lot of our viewers to become the young leaders of tomorrow and take the mantle and run with it and help India become a superpower.
Definitely, this was a very great message from your side, sir. And thank you so much for joining and giving your important time. And next time, we will surely going to take the leadership as a topic. I would appreciate if you will join next time too. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside, I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside, I'm alone.